everybody, this is Saul Castaneda from Mcscgreenwheels, and I'm still at home. We're here in March, man, and we're waiting for spring to peek its beautiful little head so we can continue with our builds. So as you guys know, I take on a lot of different builds. We've done Chevelles, we've done Broncos, we've done Ramblers, but lately we've been doing our private collection of Foxbodies, and I do a lot of these cars for a lot of other customers. More and more, as the more I take on these cars, I get to find out a little bit more about them. So what I try to do is try to keep ahead of the curve and do a little history check. Like, for instance, today we found an article about the Mustang SVO. We found the article on cjpony.net. It was written by Meghan Drummond. It was November 5th, 2020. The article is, what is the Mustang SVO? Well, SVO stood for Special Vehicles Operation, a department started by Ford in '81 all the way to '92. SVO oversaw all of Ford's motorsport programs. They basically built Mustangs to compete in these contests, such as the Sports Car Club of America, the International Motorsports Association as well, winning about 17 out of 34 of these contests, which is great because it's half. Unfortunately, the SVO team only made one production car, which happens to be the Mustang SVO. They made it from '84 all the way to '86. They sold 9,834 of these little bad boys. At the time, Ford and SVO wanted to make a performance-oriented vehicle, an idea that started in the '80s by teaming up with McLaren, and as we know, creating the McLaren Mustang. Ford wanted a sportier look with performance, and of course thinking about being economical, I should say. But the SVO was started as far as a department and with ties cut with McLaren, consequently only making 10 Mustang McLarens. But don't worry guys, those SVOs and the McLarens were basically the exact same thing. Like the interior, for instance. Some had leather seats, other had cloth with the SVO embossed in them. The dash, the clocks, brighter colors inside of it so you could see it, made it look a lot sportier. Some had leather wrapped steering wheels and leather wrapped shifter boots. Also that came as an added feature for the SVO was all of them came with a Hurst shifter. They played with color schemes such as the dash, the consoles, and the seats and door panels. Door panels had some cloth. Seats could have been color black. The inside, a different color gray to a darker charcoal. Also, they gave up the option toggle switch that allowed you from regular gas to premium gas. You know, if you needed to get to church in time. Let's talk about the outside. The standard Foxbody look, to me, looked a little aero-like or thinner or slimmer, I should say. Minimal ground effects made it look taller. It had a working hood scoop, feed air into the turbo, which we'll talk in a few. Had the fog lights. Never a big fan of square lights, but they made it work. Some came with the option of sunroof. They also came with a set of unique tail lights. And guys, if you can tell me what Foxbody had these other than the SVO, I may send something. And of course, let's not forget the spoilers. And you had the double deck spoiler. I like the double deck. Let's not forget the rims and tires. All SVOs came with 16-inch wheels. By the way, this is the only Foxbody that rolled out of production with a 5-lug setup. Along with that, it was to accommodate the big front and rear disc it had. Yes sir, front and rear disc brake system for this bad boy. Had a custom suspension, had front and rear Koni adjustable shocks. Also came with heftier front and rear sway bar or anti-roll bar. SVO was innovative. When they made this car, they pulled out with a 2.3 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. Not the V8, unlike its performance edition cars like the Boss, the Cobra, or the Shelby. With half the displacement of the V8, added features of electronic fuel injection, intercooler to improve performance. The engine was placed behind the front axle, giving it a perfect center of gravity and balance. In 84, it was pulling out 175 horse, 210 foot-pounds of torque, gave you 19 miles per gallon in the city, 26 on the highway, and 22 combined all around. And to top it off, the magnificent T5 transmission. They sold 4,507 in 84. In 1985, she writes that SVO really got it right, and by that she meant the tuning of the car as far as horsepower and torque. Although miles per gallon really didn't change in 85, they added some extra features. They tweaked out the rear end, for instance. The axle had a 373 and they changed it out to a 345. Steering ratio went from 15-1 to a 20-1. They reduced the spool time on the turbocharger. They increased EFI pressure for more gas, added a dual inline catalytic system. They upgraded the clutch, and although they kept the T5, this was no T5. This was the world-class T5. In 85, they pulled out 1,515 of these cars. And in 85 and a half, which it looks like they got it correct, nothing was really changed as far as internals, but tuning it out gave them 205 horse, 248 foot-pounds of torque, 21 miles per gallon in the city, 26 on the highway with a 23 combined. So for all you luckies out there that have that 1985 and a half SVO, only 436 were ever made of those. In 1986, Ford dialed it down. They blamed it on bad gas. With the car not changing very much as far as anything, as far as the engine or interiors, they were pulling out 200 horse from what the 85 and a half did in 205. They were doing 240 foot-pounds of torque, but the car stayed the same. Economy-wise, it didn't change. MPGs 21 as far as the city, 26 highway, 23 combined. The only real difference that a 1986 SVO has was they went with the sleeker style Arrow headlights. They also had a production number of 3,379 of those. In conclusion, SVO was successful on making a performance machine that was lightweight, well balanced, and economical, making and keeping the Mustang relevant in the dark ages of cars, which were the 80s. We'd like to thank Meghan Drummond for writing up this article. And guys, if you want to learn more about it, you can go on cjpony.net and read up on it. And we want to thank everybody on Facebook, Instagram, and especially on our YouTube. Guys, give us a like, drop us a comment. Better yet, send us a picture of your SVO, and I'll continue this little journey of the history of the Foxbody. We want to thank everyone, man. See you guys soon. See you on that build floor. Good night.